Hi guys. I am just waiting for Michelle to join me. This whole IG live thing is so new to me. Oh, I think that's her. Pardon me guys while I try to figure this out. I did it. I think I did it. I don't feel old until I try to do all this stuff, and then I feel really old.
Hi! Look at you looking all beautiful in your live.
Oh, you're sweet. You're sweet. I have a whole wall of windows in front of me, which helps.
That helps. You know what? Honestly, because it's like getting dark here, it's like 8 o'clock. I've been like trying to like find
the light. Chase the light.
I'm not good with the social media. People are like, "Oh, you're a millennial." I'm like, that doesn't matter. I'm not good with like the tech and all the stuff and the cameras.
No, I actually tried to do a live once before. I'm gonna be honest. I got it. Full disclosure, guys. All the things popping up, like I find it so distracting. I'm like squirrel. It's just. I feel like people are ringing my doorbell every time like something pops up and I'm forced to look at it. So I'm gonna try to be really good and not actually focus on everybody coming in.
Well, you're better than me because like your phone's propped, but unfortunately the lighting that's the best. I can't prop my phone.
So you get the arm cramp like halfway through.
I'm just gonna have to deal with it. I'll just drink some water or something.
I got coffee. I brought mine.
Girl. Wait a minute. Wait.
Go get a coffee.
I have my tea. I don't drink coffee because it gives me like the jitters, but I got my tea.
Oh, it works. That works. Amari's a tea drinker. I'm diehard coffee, but
really?
I won't hold it against you. Yeah.
Thank you. I like the tea because it detoxes because we need to stay healthy out here.
Okay, well now make me feel guilty. Bring out the health benefits. Okay. Wait, I think you're freezing. Am I freezing or is everyone freezing?
There we go.
There you are. You're back. Hey guys, can you guys hear Michelle or is she freezing? Hi to everybody. She's freezing, someone says. Okay. She is freezing. She's freezing. Y'all are great. Dang it, Michelle, come back to us.
Is on IG in the evening. There we go.
Are you there? Can we see her?
Yeah.
Guys, can we see Michelle? There you are. Perfect.
I think it's because everybody's on IG in the evenings.
Oh, I believe that. It's like a freeway.
Yeah. So we're gonna have some deep conversations.
We are. We're ready.
We're ready. So I like to sometimes start it off a little bit light. So what have you been doing this quarantine? Like how has your life changed? How have you been?
I'm a teacher. I'm a full-time damn teacher.
Mm.
Oh wait, guys, by the way, pause for a second. I curse a little. I think Michelle probably knows that. So if you guys hate cursing, you might want to like tune out. But I do curse.
So say that because I have a potty mouth.
Okay, good. Okay, we're in good company then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've become a full-time teacher. We have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they go to private school. So basically, I'm paying a shit ton of money to homeschool. Is basically what we've been doing the whole quarantine.
So you still have to pay the whole thing.
Yeah, which I get. I mean, there's teacher salaries and there's maintenance for buildings. I understand. It's just, teachers have the patience of a god. I don't. I just don't. That's not my strong suit. So I've learned more about myself.
Yeah. Are they giving you resources? Do you get any guidance as a parent doing this?
Yes, thankfully, like our 7-year-old, she's in first grade. She has a morning meeting. So like she Zooms in, which thank God for Zoom. She Zooms into her whole class and her teacher's there and they go through like what they're doing for the day. They get to see each other and say hi. And then the rest is kind of up to us with everything they sent home and the computer. So it's been okay, to be honest with you. I know other people have it way worse in different school districts, but we've had to do some rearranging, that's for sure. How about you?
I've just been chilling. I've been chilling. I know.
Girl.
I've been chilling. I'm actually at Melissa's house right now. I'm wearing her sweater. She's watching. Girl, I took her sweater in her class. She's in California with her kids. Her one kid goes to USC. She took her other 15-year-old son out there with her. So they're just living in this big, beautiful house in Southern California. Nice. And I've been coming here to Philly weekly just to work on things and read and just kind of, I don't know, just kind of get back to me a little bit, you know?
That's
Like,
great. I mean, it's a great time for that. I mean, everyone who's like, I don't have time to read, I don't have time to go to work out. Perfect time. It's almost like the universe paused for those of us who aren't at the moment affected, praise God, by COVID, but we're getting a blessing. There is a silver lining to it.
There is. And I feel as though, I mean, it's helping me because I have to get slower, be more intentional with how I want my life to be when this is over.
Absolutely.
Like I want to make sure that as best as I can, like I am creating my own economy because you don't know what's going to happen. So that's what I'm focused on. So, but I think the other really nice thing about being a parent right now is that you do get to spend this time with your kids. You do get to maybe help teach them maybe what you really want them to teach for more hours of the day. You have access to them. So, we're just going to get right into it. You know, we're seeing a lot of everyone on social media right now trying to help each other out and educate each other and be there for one another. Yeah. And one thing that Melissa and I noticed is that there are so many more conversations that are happening on IG and specifically about race. So we were like, you know what, this is where we need to be. This is what we do. And I saw a video of yours a couple weeks ago. And I was like, where are the white women like Jae, who are just calling it out like it is, who are helping educate the masses? You know, people are online right now, so more people are going to hear your message. Right. And it was about white privilege. And this COVID pandemic has shown such a bright light on the inequities that we are going through. I see posts like, we're all in the same boat. And we're not right now. We're not right now.
No, we're in the same storm. We're not in the same boat.
I think you posted that.
I did. Yeah. It's very different if you're in a yacht than if you're in a dinghy.
Very right. And so your message was just so clear. And I think it was very, allow people to hopefully center and think. Again, we're in a time where you're going to have to sit and think about things. So your post about white privilege to me was so powerful and so clear and concise. And I just want to hear more about you and how you came to be so courageous and brave to be one of the few, I say very few, white people willing to put yourself out there like that. Like how did you come to be this just ridiculous truth teller that like we need more of it, but tell us how you got there.
Well, the truth telling part started when I was young, and my mother probably hated it. I don't really have much of a filter. I don't know how to speak with a chaser after I say something. It's gotten me in many fights in my marriage. He's gotten used to it, but I don't know how to sugarcoat things. I really don't. I don't hear those ways. I don't receive information that way. I like it when things are direct to me, and to me it's an insult to my intelligence, to my character, to anything when someone tries to wrap it up all pretty for me. So obviously I'm an acquired taste for some, you know, I'm too blunt, I'm too harsh. I'm not for those people, or I am. Either way, I gotta be me. So that part started very, very young.
Yeah.
I've definitely always had a passion for justice. I have a very strong sense of justice. Even as a kid, my first fight, and this is not to glorify fighting, but I got in a fist fight in kindergarten because I went to a school that was majority white for kindergarten and first grade. And there was a little Asian girl that transferred in, and the kids were making fun of her. Fist fight. Went to the principal's office. But I'm gonna be honest, like I don't remember getting disciplined for that. I don't, because I was standing up for something. So it's always been in me. I do try at times to be politically correct in the sense of, okay, Jay, don't be a loudmouth when it comes to things. But in instances like racism, I can't. I don't know how to be quiet. I don't have the platform size that many people do that are, you know, actresses or other celebrities. I try to use what I do have for some good, to benefit something. But I couldn't be quiet. To me, it's a very simple equation. You see wrong, you address wrong, you don't ever turn away from it. Like I don't view racism as a problem, a black problem. I view it as a white problem. I view it as, if my kids are bullying your kids, my issue. It's not your kid's issue that they're getting bullied. It's my kid's problem and my problem that they're bullying your kids. Same thing. It's not a Black person problem that they're experiencing inequity, that they're experiencing racism. It's a white person problem, which means us white people need to go spank the asses of other white people that are doing it, the bullies. So to me, it's a very A plus B equals C. But other people make it very complicated.
It's funny. I always say 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2. I knew we would get along because I would get suspended in high school for fighting on other people's behalfs.
Nice.
I would get Saturday detention. I'd be like, Saturday morning, what? That's a breeze. It's 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's just the right thing to do. And what you said about, maybe not having a huge platform, we tell people every day. Every time you speak and say something, you're influencing people around you. If you got 5 followers, if you have 2 friends, if it's just you and your parents at home, every time you speak your truth, you're inspiring somebody. People are listening, whether or not you think that they're listening.
That video specifically, I've said things. I am probably a broken record with certain things that I say on my page. I say often, there's 2 Americas. One if you're white and one if you're Black. I say it, and I say it in writing, but I realize that some people don't read. They don't, but I guess there's something about a video. And so I'm gonna be honest, our kids were outside playing on the driveway. I was just fed up. And I had many people.
Yeah,
say again.
Tell us that day, what was it that sparked you to do that?
I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. I do not believe in performance allyship.
Yes.
I don't. To me, what that does, that makes the person who's going for the run, and I'm not saying everything is good natured.
Right.
Everyone wants to do something. I just have an issue with doing it, showing it, and then that makes you feel better, like you did something, you're part of the clan that, helped. You didn't. You didn't. So I had so many of our friends and neighbors and very good people. I'm talking incredible people, great-hearted people. And they wanted to do something. They really did. And they were joining the movement of I Run with Maud. I love it. I love that they were stirred to do something. But I was hoping with every single person doing it that when they got home from their run, they weren't like, wow, yeah, that's really unfortunate. Go about your day, go about your week. Because you didn't accomplish anything with a run. Okay, you got sweaty. Ooh. Like it didn't fix anything. It didn't heal the heart of his mom and his sister Jasmine. It did nothing but make you feel like you agreed that there was inequity.
Yep. That performance allyship, we talked about that a little bit earlier on the phone, and I just want people to understand that when the work isn't in your heart and you're really not doing the work, you can see that. Yes. It is noticeable. Like if you're gonna go in, go in. We talked about how when I first became an activist, I didn't realize that there were people around me, friends that I thought I was close with, that were actually doing performative allyship almost my entire life. For 20 years, it was, I have a Black friend, I love Michelle, this and that. And as soon as I got really serious about activism, and as soon as I started speaking about this out loud,
they got uncomfortable.
They got uncomfortable and they vanished. 26 years, they vanished. That's performative allyship. That's coming to a meeting, but going home and realizing, oh, you know what? Michelle's getting a little bit too Black for me.
She might ask us to do something. She might ask us to do
something. That's huge. That's huge. So this is a perfect segue into, I really want to share with your followers, if I may, how P2P got started. Because
absolutely, please do. Melissa,
she's like my white raven. She did something that day that you just don't normally see. And it's funny, I talked to her after I talked to you, and you two are so much alike, it's strange. So Philadelphia is a very unique city. It's a very Black city, actually. But the neighborhood where the Starbucks is located is a very white neighborhood. It's like 70-some% white. So it's a very specific pocket. It's a very rich neighborhood in Philadelphia. So I lived in Philadelphia for 5-6 years, and I would purposefully walk past that Starbucks and go to the one deeper in the city that was more diverse. Lived in the city for 5 years. I was like, that one's just a little bit, I don't know. For some reason this day, the universe, whoever told me, go to the Starbucks this day. I was like, I don't know why. Let me just stop in there anyways. I walk in the Starbucks. Again, it's true. I'm one of like 2 Black people in the whole place, but whatever. I'm like, let me just sit and do my work. So
Well, because let's be honest, Black people are comfortable being around white people, being the only maybe one or two Black people. White people seem to get uncomfortable when they're one of only two in a room. I just had to point that out.
No, that's so it's so funny. So that I'm gonna distract like just a little bit. I had a friend once came to a family party of mine, and she was like, "Oh my God, Michelle, is this what you feel like often?" Because she was around all Black people. We're all African. We're all Black. And I was like, "Oh, now you know what it's like. Maybe now you'll be a bit more mindful when you invite me to events. Maybe just like, I have to think about that. I scope the room. I'm like, what's the demographic of this bar? But I digress. So anyways, these two Black men walk in Starbucks, and I'm like, oh, there's two more Black people that that walk in. Now it's a little bit more diverse. And to be honest with you, I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, the reason that people are like, how do you even know what happened the whole time? I'm like, because I thought that they were cute, so that's why I was looking at them. The one in the green jacket with the beard, oh, he was adorable. So they walk in, and they go up to the barista, and they say, can we use the bathroom? And she said, no, it's for paying customers only. And they sat down, and that was it. Nothing else happened. For anyone that asks, well, what happened before that video? Nothing. So they said, okay. And I saw her walk down the aisle, and she mumbled something to herself. And
the barista.
The barista. Okay. Initially, immediately, I was like, I think she just said something racist. I felt it. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't know why I think that, but Michelle, now you're being discriminatory. Now you're being prejudiced for no reason. Because when we have those racist thoughts, when we have those thoughts, you have to check yourself and say, where is that thought actually coming from? Right. Michelle, you have no idea. Maybe she forgot something in the back. She forgot some simple syrup. I don't know, because she was walking back. So I said, put your head down and mind your business and work. Within a couple minutes, two cops show up, which I thought was very strange because I had been there for 45 minutes and nothing had happened. I thought maybe they were responding to something earlier in the day or maybe even the day before because nothing had been going on. I was close enough to the counter that I actually heard her lie. And I heard her say, those two guys in the corner are refusing to leave.
Wow. When she never asked them once to leave.
My heart dropped. I said, oh my God, maybe I was right. Maybe she did say something racist under her breath. Now I'm getting scared because I look over at them and they looked at me for a minute, but they looked at the police and not like, so like, I'm noticing that they're also noticing and we're a little bit like confused and they just beelined for these guys. They didn't ask any questions. It wasn't like.
What was everyone else in the Starbucks at the time doing?
Nothing.
Were they aware? Were they just going about their business?
Going about their business, unaware.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, what do you mean they're refusing to leave? This is insane. So if you've ever had a panic attack, you know that like you're about to do something, but you don't know what it is you're about to do. Like you start getting some, like my hands started getting sweaty and clammy. And I'm like, my arm started sweating. I was just sweating because I said to myself, okay, it wasn't a matter of, am I going to do something? It's what am I going to do? It's going to be something. So they beeline for these guys or like making them leave. They're like, you have to leave. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would we have to leave? Nothing has happened. Right. When I realized that the reason is they hadn't bought a coffee, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Because the white guy's been sitting here next to me for 45 minutes. He doesn't have a coffee. I saw a white girl come in mid-jog, use the bathroom and leave. Now in Philadelphia, we have codes on our bathroom in Starbucks. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if she works here part-time. I wonder if maybe she's here all the time, that they know her, and maybe that's why she.
Because you wanted it to be something.
Something. It has to be something.
Right.
I'm like, this is insanity. So 2 cops turned to 4 cops, turned to 6 cops, turned to 8 cops to arrest men for not buying a coffee. So again, I'm up. I'm kind of raising my voice, I'm yelling, I'm looking at people, and I'm like, they're being arrested for not buying coffees. Half of y'all don't have coffees. Some girl walks up to me, taps me on the shoulder. She goes, what's going on? I said, they're being arrested for not buying coffee. And that's when the camera started going up. And I was like, all right, I have to go do something. So I walked up to the cop, and which was a risk for me because I'm watching them arrest 2 Black men for not buying coffees, and here I'm a Black woman. There's only 4 of us in the Starbucks at this point, just 4. Right. And no one did a thing.
No white person said anything.
except for their friend that was meeting them. He showed up, and it was obvious to him. It's interesting because I feel like Black people and Jewish people have like this mutual understanding. Maybe it's because of their
struggle.
Right, correct. So he was Jewish, and he was like, how is this not obvious to everybody else? And I said, his name was Andrew. I know it now, but I was like, I saw the whole thing. Like nothing happened. So I went to the cop and I said, why are you doing this? And he said, go ask the barista. I'm sure that was a very interesting response. I'm you don't have any accountability or responsibility to.
You're the one arresting. She might have called you, but you're the one arresting.
Right. Like, I'm like, oh, is that how it works? So I can call you whenever I want someone just removed from my space. Interesting. I don't think that would happen the other way around. So I said, okay, if something goes down, I'm thinking to myself, if something goes down, they're telling me to go confront her. So I did. I walked right up to her and I said, why'd you call the cops? Jay, her face and her chest and her neck got crimson red. Just, whoo. And she started stuttering and she was like, I can't really say. And I go, oh, I can say. So I watched the entire thing happen from the beginning to the end. I said, did you feel like your life was in danger? And she ignored me and like walked down that Starbucks aisle, which I hate because my mother would do that. She would just ignore me, just like walk away. I was like, oh, hell no. So I followed her down the aisle and I was like, did you feel like your life was in danger? Did you feel like you were being threatened? And she ignored me. So I didn't know what else to do. There's nothing else I could do. The guys were being put in handcuffs. It's over. So I took a step back and I yelled at her. Excuse my language. I said, you're a fucking coward. I walked back to my table and I'm packing up all my stuff and I'm looking around and there's all these white women just staring at me. Because it was mostly white women in the Starbucks that day. And the one woman starts, her lips like quivering and I'm like, don't you cry because if you cry, I'm going to cry. Another woman looks at me and she was like almost like shaking, but she started packing up her stuff after she saw me packing up my stuff. But Melissa was the only other one to verbally address the Starbucks that day. And she said, she stood up and she goes, I come here all the time. I was just here the other day. No, I'm here for hours. No one ever asks me to leave, and you know why. Right. So we all walk out together, and they're put in handcuffs, like behind their backs as if they're criminals for not buying a freaking coffee. Taken away. I looked at them. I did one of these because I was like, I can't get you out, but like I see you, like right. And we talked to the cops a little bit longer. But at the time, I didn't have a Twitter and I didn't have Facebook. Barely was on Instagram. I had friends calling me saying, Michelle, the incident you told me about that you were in, it went viral. I was like, what are you talking about? And I didn't realize it had blown up in 48 hours. I had no clue. Right. Until I got a text and someone said, hey, Melissa DePino's trying to find you. And to be honest with you, I was really happy because it was a bit troublesome, but understandable that they were censoring her at first. They're like, oh, this white woman that did this thing. Mm-hmm. And she goes, all I did was share a video. She goes, it was a Black woman that spoke up. Why don't we believe people of color when they tell us about their experiences? That's a problem. Because their voices are familiar. You've had to talk for so long. Exactly. The story was heard in Norway, in Australia. I mean, literally all over the world. So we meet up the next Monday. We look at each other. We're like, that was supposed to have happened because now we're gonna do something about it. So we started this organization, From Privilege to Progress, and it is really geared towards white people, to be honest, for them to understand their privilege and use their privilege for progress. We spoke to some activists, Sean King, DeRay, and some people that we were trying to come up with a name in the beginning, getting some advice. And they were like, that word privilege is triggering for people. I'm not sure if maybe you should use that. And it's like, no, but we want to be really intentional about what we're doing and what we're talking about. So our 3 things are educate yourself, speak up in your everyday life, and amplify the voices of people of color, which is, again, is why I loved your video, because when we work together, look at what can happen. Absolutely. When you speak up, look at what can happen. Next thing we knew, Starbucks was closing 8,000 stores to do unconscious bias training, and we did something that it was scary, but it's just the right thing to do. You just speak up when you see something. So that's what we encourage people to do, because we recognize we're not going to change the system, right? But the system is made up of individual people. Absolutely. So if you can just do it day by day, step by step, take that accountability and responsibility for yourself to learn what anti-racism is, unlearn the racist things that you've learned. Because I tell people, listen, yes, we have been absolutely persecuted and killed and murdered and all of this, but white people need to understand that you have been manipulated severely as well. Absolutely. It's conditioning.
I mean, even modern day media, let alone, 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago, and the stories that were told. Modern media, you're being manipulated.
Growing up, I remember, like, we lived in a white town, but every time there was a criminal on our TV station, it was a Black person. I'm like,
that was the same. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was the exact same. I don't honestly remember the evening news reporting crimes that were done by white people.
Even though I'm around more white people than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is weird.
You're absolutely right.
I'm like, and I know a couple criminals. Like, how are they not getting caught?
No, you're right, because white's never suspicious.
They're not suspicious.
White. I'm gonna say this, and it's an interesting perspective. Some will probably understand me, and probably some will think I'm crazy for saying it. I'm white, for all intents and purposes. I'm kind of a mutt of many things, but I'm white. My father's white. My brother's white. My cousins are white. My uncles are white. I've been in situations with white men my entire life. Pulled over by cops, actually friends at the time in high school stealing things. They were never treated poorly.
Right.
They were never pulled out of cars, even when they mouthed off to cops.
Yep.
They were asked maybe to curb their language. They were never once threatened. They were never demeaned. Never once. And they were the ones that were assaulting the cops verbally. Yep. There's two different Americas. And I'm going to take an opportunity to say this too. White people who don't think you have white privilege, listen. The fact that you're born in white skin and you wake up in the morning and you never have to think about the color of your skin before you do anything, that's white privilege. That's white privilege. At the very basic, I don't care if you don't have money, if you grew up poor, if you grew up without a family. The fact that your skin, what you don't have to put on every day, is white. And our country makes being white very easy. That alone, with nothing else added to it, is white privilege.
Nothing else. It's very simple.
And no one's attacking you. It's not an insult to be said that you have white privilege. You do. You just need to go, you're right. The country has catered to me. They cater to my skin color. If not me personally, still my skin color. That was one barrier I didn't have to get past. It's not people. It can't be a nasty word anymore. It has to actually be you're right. Shit.
You're right. It's nasty to those who don't want to give up any of that privilege. It's nasty to those, they turn it into something nasty because they're like, oh, well, what does this mean now? Am I going to have to change my life and do things? I'm gonna ask you. Yes, I'm gonna ask you to do things. I'm gonna ask you to change your life a little bit, because if you're a person of color, you have been expected to assimilate. You've been expected to do things on everyone else's terms.
Absolutely.
I mean, when I was in high school, which I think I told you this earlier, but I did my senior project on the Holocaust. Mm-hmm. I having no knowledge of what was going on with even my own people, but I still had the empathy for another group of people. And I always wonder, where's that reciprocated empathy? Sure. So I grew up in a white town, Hershey, Pennsylvania, but we were Black, so we were African American. My parents are from Ghana. So because my parents didn't know the history of this country, I didn't know really what racism was. I felt it, I experienced it, but I didn't understand how deep it went. Mm-hmm. I went to a white school and I learned white history that was brushed over. I mean, I learned about Rosa Parks, MLK, Jackie Robinson, as if they were the only 3 Black people in America. It was those 3.
Our American history is very selective.
Very, very, very selective. So I was, so I felt things, but I didn't understand really what was going on. Right. I had to educate myself in the past few years tremendously. But what people didn't understand is that I still had to navigate racism and microaggressions. Mm-hmm. What I realized is that I saw someone said sheesh Hershey. They probably know where that is. Yeah, girl. I was the only chocolate besides the Hershey's chocolate. Okay. So, as a way to survive that environment, I started to separate myself from Black America. Mm. That's how deep racism goes. That's how much it impacts you. And I've noticed that for whatever reason, well, there are reasons, but white people seemed to be less intimidated by me when they found out that I was African. Suddenly I was interesting. suddenly I feel as though like shame and guilt wasn't reflected back onto them because they didn't see a Black American that came from slavery. They saw someone that was exotic, that came from somewhere else.
Right.
I would watch people's entire demeanor completely change in front of my face when they found out that I was African. And I said, oh, interesting. Okay, this works. I can kind of shield myself from even maybe some of the racism by holding onto that African identity. And a few years ago, that would have been very hard for me to admit that I was absorbing those biases about Black Americans. But I want people to understand that's how much racism impacts everyone around you. Even me,
it's
I'm
pervasive. It's pervasive. You almost can't escape it if you're living in modern America.
You can't escape it. It took for me to go back to Ghana, to go to my home country, to go to a slave dungeon and be in that dungeon. I almost threw up. I was nauseous. I was sweating. It was an experience that I think everyone should experience. If you can emotionally handle that, if you think you can emotionally handle it, because it's for some people, it's more intense than others. For me, it was very, very intense. And I was like, whew, I remember going to the very top of the castle. That's where the chapel was. That's where they worship their God, and the bottom is where they did terrible things to people. And I remember trying to imagine what it would have been like to watch your family, I was literally, that's how, tremendous that place is. It's like, you feel the heaviness. It's like outside of Ghana, you don't feel it, but when you go into the dungeon, you feel it. I felt like I was literally feeling spirits. They were there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I came back to America, it was impossible for me to look at a Black American and not wonder that. I'm like, you know what, we could end up being family. We could end up, you could be my neighbor, my friends in Africa. That's how serious it was for me. So when I saw those two men in the Starbucks that day, it was like, these are my brothers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Actually, one of them actually even had the similar demeanor as my little brother. I have two brothers. My little brother, he is like super calm, like Zen all the time. They were so, and it's funny because after that happened, there were white girls outside. They were like, oh, we can't believe how calm they were. We would have flipped out. And I said, and you would have been able to because you're white. And I thought that I was maybe a little bit too.
The privilege in that statement alone.
Right.
Continue.
but they got it. After I said it, they looked at each other and they go, you know what, you're right. Because I think everyone that day realized that's what it was. But had Melissa and I not spoken up, those same people probably would have went about their lives not thinking that they ever witnessed racism. This is what it looks like today.
It absolutely looks like this. What happened to Ahmaud Arbery was a modern day lynching. It's not going to look like a rope in a tree.
No.
It's going to look like false accusations. It's going to look like profiling someone in a Walmart. It's not going to look the same. We have to open our eyes or we're going to miss it. And our job is not to miss it. Our job as white people is not to miss it. Black on black crime is a thing. That is not what this is about. That is not the conversation. I get so many DMs, why aren't you talking about the other part of it? That's a whole nother conversation. First of all, when you've been conditioned and things taken from you and your history stolen from you, and I can go on and on and on and on and on. Yep. This is not it. This is not the time to have that conversation. It's like if my one kid does something and they go, well, she did that. No.
Exactly.
No. It's about you right now. It's about you, and we're gonna deal with this and we're gonna address it. So what I feel like what white people need to know is they always feel like I can't make any stride. I can't do anything significant. It is so significant for what you and Melissa did for those two guys in that Starbucks. And this is happening more and more. You don't have to start a movement necessarily to make a difference.
Exactly.
You have to speak up. And the hardest people at times to speak up to are the ones right around you. Correct. It's the ones you see every Thanksgiving. It's Uncle Gerald that's going to come over at Christmas, and you're going to have a conversation again. But you know what? You owe it. You need to have that conversation. And additionally, you also need to create a safe space around yourself, if this is something that you truly believe in, right, that people aren't comfortable saying things that are racist comments, that are things that are insensitive around you. That's not safe. Your
Let people know
children
who you are.
hear what they say just as much as they hear what you teach. And if you're allowing it, you're actually co-signing it.
You are. That's such a good point. If you are allowing it, you are co-signing it. And I just want to say it again. If you are allowing it, you are co-signing it, because there have been times where I've experienced, you know, some racism or microaggressions, and white friends were around me, and they would wait until after the situation was over to be like, oh my gosh, like, you know, that person was like, don't mind him, they're just terrible. And I'm like, you co-signed on that because
You're
you
like,
said
I'm not
nothing in
the
the
issue
moment.
right now. You're like, even comforting me is not the issue.
Mm-mm.
Righting a wrong is the issue.
Right.
We need to get away from trying to make people feel better about atrocities, and we need to confront the atrocities. We should
Right.
never be okay. We should never make sure someone's okay, and that's the only thing we do.
Right.
That's like someone cut somebody, and you're like, can I give you a Band-Aid?
Right. Like, don't mind him. You know, he's just crazy with the knife.
Yeah,
What?
just put the Band-Aid on. Just put the Band-Aid on. This is going to be uncomfortable if you want to talk about it. That's not okay. It's not
Like
okay.
that. I mean, especially when it happens between friends. Like, I mean, I've been like, all the women I've been doing lives with, I've been waiting for women like you my entire life. Because if you have friends of color, if you have white friends and you can't have these conversations, your friendships aren't that deep.
They're not genuine. They're not genuine.
How can you, if I can't talk to you about what impacts my life on a day-to-day basis, how can I actually trust you?
You're absolutely right.
And we want to have this conversation. I know white people are like, oh, well, you know, I'm not sure if I can ask you this or that. And I'm like, I want to have this conversation with you because I want to know that you see me. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me you don't see color. I want you to see me so I know that if something goes down, I can trust you.
The problem is this, is that people are smarter than they seem to be. So the problem is a lot of white people are afraid if they have a conversation, they're going to find out. They're going to reveal something. Mm-hmm. Okay? And all of us are fairly intelligent. A spirit of learning, a spirit of being open, we all can pick that up. You can pick up on when someone truly is asking and wants to be taught and does not know. No one's going to shame somebody for not knowing. You absolutely should have a conversation, and there should be anger. If someone has had an opportunity to learn and they haven't, that's ignorance. I don't have a lot of tolerance for ignorance. It's 2020. We all have an ability to read, to look up, to Google. Get to learning. Get to learning.
That's why our first thing is educate yourself. You know, many people will come in, what can I do? I'm like, there's like so many books.
So many books. Yeah, ask that. White people, start there. Start there. If there's a Black person in your life, ask them, hey, can you give me a few books that you think I should read to educate myself? There is no one that's going to be offended by that. No one.
I'm telling you, a friend of mine did that to me, and now she's one of my favorite friends because I'm like, okay, I trust this bitch. I trust her. I know that if something goes down and I'm in her house or her neighborhood, they live in a very beautiful, like mansion-y white neighborhood in Pennsylvania. But I feel, even though I'm in that very segregated area, I feel safe in her home because she's taking the time to understand where she may be acting out in ways that have white supremacist ideology. She wants to understand herself, so she's not accidentally harming me.
Absolutely.
That's the most beautiful thing. And I love what you said about a spirit of learning. I don't feel like we have a spirit of learning like as a whole anymore.
No,
a spirit of learning is exactly what we need to have in order to understand each other's struggles. That builds empathy, it builds understanding, it builds trust, it builds community. And right now we are suffering. We have a soul problem because we don't have those things amongst one another.
No, we don't. I mean, we have the most violence in our world in hundreds of years. But the problem is not only do we have violence in the world, we don't have safe places to go within each other.
Yeah.
So we're more lonely. There's more mass shooting. There is so much loneliness in our world, and no one knows who's safe anymore. Let's be honest. White to white, Black to Black, white and Black, every other race. Nobody knows who's safe. We don't even know how to make genuine connections.
We don't know. Like, it's, I love that, you know, when we just decided this morning we were going to like hop on a phone call, I was like, I think I trust her a little bit more that she just wants to hop on a phone call. Right? Because it's so, people just want to text and they want to email and they don't want to get deeper with people. They really don't want to, it's so refreshing to be in connection with human beings. And people don't realize like that is we're hardwired as human beings to connect with one another. That's why this pandemic is so hard for us, because it's not natural or normal for us to be in our homes and not with people. Like, I love that we're doing this live, but I know that, like, if I was near you, the energy would be on a different level.
It would. I completely agree with you.
And the problem is that this country is still so segregated that white people and black people are often not close to one another. They're not getting to know each other. One of our other really big things is telling people to repost content, because we found out there was a study done that if you're white, it's likely that your network is 91% white. And if you're black, it's 82% black. So even stories aren't being crossed over. People aren't seeing what's going on in other parts of the world, other parts of the country. So you can be in the same state, maybe the neighboring town, and not know that black people are suffering just miles from you, because you're only talking to people that look like you, that have your same ideas. And I think we need to, like, that's a
My husband always puts it, he always says, you know, people have to go beyond their own cafeteria table. You know, in high school, you have your lunch period, like you have that one table that you kind of always go to of your friends. And it's true, you don't go beyond your cafeteria table, and races have a tendency to be the same way. You go where you're comfortable. But the problem is growth doesn't happen in comfort. It never does. I don't know an ounce of growth that happens in comfort.
Never. And we have to be really intentional about integrating our worlds and integrating our lives, because this country was built in a way to keep us separated.
Absolutely.
They don't want us coming together and getting strong and rising up and demanding that we're treated equally. They don't want us to be connected in that way. They don't want us to love each other. I mean, some people might think listen, that's just what I've seen, that's what I've experienced.
No, it's true. It's at the foundation of people who have tried to tear races apart and even separate individual races.
Yes.
Colorism, like we were speaking of earlier, in the African American race.
Yes.
The issue is if they can keep people apart. If you divide, you conquer.
Absolutely.
It's simple. It's nothing more important than us coming together, us breaking down barriers. Even in the black race, us breaking down colorism. That was Willie Lynch. My husband teaches our kids that are 5 and 7. They know very well who Willie Lynch is.
I'm telling you, it's funny because I'm starting to have more of these conversations, because there's a lot of conversation about the black community coming together. And I'm like, well, we have to start having these talks too. We have to start addressing the biases amongst us as well, because it's seeped into us. Like the fact that, like, colorism comes from white supremacy. We have to acknowledge that. If we don't acknowledge that, then how are we going to get stronger together? Same with when it comes to Africans and African Americans. We have to have these talks about biases that the media and that certain higher powers have strategically put in place to keep us divided, because it's been working
Flawlessly, almost.
Flawlessly. But we have to be just aware and be smarter than them. Be like, you're not gonna get me.
Right, you're right. No, it starts. Okay, I basically believe in things of effect starts in ripples, right?
Yeah.
It starts small, it goes bigger, it goes bigger, it goes bigger. So the easiest place to start, some people get overwhelmed by going, oh my God, it's so much to do. It is so much to do. The news is full of things, and it's not even reported, all of them that happen. Correct. But you have to start. You have an uncle, you have a father, you have a cousin, you have a friend, you have a neighbor. You have someone in your life that you are well aware that is either racist or has prejudiced thoughts. Mm-hmm. Every white person has a person. I guarantee it right now. If I ask every white person on here,
everyone,
as my husband always does this on his lives, put a 1 up if you agree. If every white person would put a 1 up, if you can in your head right now think of a racist person, a prejudiced person that you know in your life, I guarantee you 98% would agree. That's where you start. And I'm not saying you have to be like, fuck you. No, you know, that shuts down conversation. It might get there.
Right.
It might get there. But you have to make that person uncomfortable. You have to make sure if you're at a dinner party with that person and they make a comment, you have to contradict their comment with truth.
You've got to. That
truth stands alone. And it's not as hard as you think. Truth truly keeps talking long after you stop.
Oh, yeah.
So you let truth do the work.
Mm-hmm. He may deflect it in the moment, but that's going to sit with him.
Absolutely. You go home, truth basically buries down in someone's soul. It roots down whether they try to fight it or not. And it's going to sprout. Mm-hmm. It's going to come up. It might be a month. It might be a year. But eventually what you said.
Exactly.
And the seeds you planted.
Exactly.
It's going to be harvested. But you got to plan. That's your job. Your job is not to see the whole thing go full circle. That's not your job. Your job is to have the conversation. Maybe it's 2 people down from you. That's the one that's going to have the second or third conversation that's going to make the difference. The person's going to go, oh my God. Oh my God.
There you are.
Am I there?
Yeah.
Back?
Yeah, you're here. That's so true. It's very simple. It's hard for people to do. It's very simple. But I think people feel they have to be an expert to start talking about race. Because you see so many people scared to talk about it. They don't know what to say. And I said, well, again, you can start by reading books. Mm-hmm. Or if you don't know what to say and someone says something racist, you can start by just saying, that's not okay with me. At least it lets the person know where you are. You can even just start there. You don't have to start teaching people, or, we don't need you to be an expert. We just need you to let people know where you stand.
Absolutely. That it's not okay with you. It might be okay with the person next to you, but that you're not worried about them. At the moment, you're worried about you, and you're setting a boundary, and that person's going to remember the boundary, and it's going to convict the person because you set a boundary.
Exactly. And you're going to be inspiring people. Like, people might, it's just so important that at the end of your life, I think, you can look back and you can reflect and you can say, what side of history was I on?
Absolutely.
Not to get morbid, but I think about those things. I think about what I want to accomplish in my life. Like, we don't know how long we're going to be here.
Do you want to I think about that too. When I think back, and again, we're teaching our little ones in an age-appropriate way about civil rights. And I think about the freedom riders, Black freedom riders, white freedom riders, and the polarity of the people that were the ones water hosing and the people that were the one riding the bus. Same color of white. Like, how did that person live their life with the memories of what they did?
Right.
I don't know how I would lay my head on a pillow. And I'm sure many of them didn't. I'm sure that actually spawned more hate. Because the problem is, once hate's there, hate grows. It marinates.
Oh, it grows. Which is why these conversations are so important, because these 2 psychopaths and white supremacists that killed Ahmaud Arbery, if they had enough people in their life maybe talking about these things, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have led to that. When no one says a word and you get away with it over and over and over, it grows.
You think it's normal. You actually feel like hate is normal. Correct. And that everyone else is weak or looking the other way or being too progressive. You start to rationalize your bullshit. I mean, it's the same thing though. Things that are cyclical. If people don't get out of their own cycle, say their family is a particular way and they never branch out, it's the same thing. Generational things run deep, man.
Yes, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing cyclical racism. People like, I don't see it. And I'm like, it's mass incarceration, it's redlining, it's unequal housing, it's all these things that you say you don't see, but it's just changing. You know what? I wanna actually address something that I just saw. I don't know how to go back to it. I see someone that says racism is a mental health issue. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a hate issue. It is someone who hates the color of someone's skin, does not have reason, does not have recourse, doesn't usually have even a personal connection or an experience with the person. Hate is not a mental health issue. It's not,
because just in that right there.
Because it can be learned. It's conditioned. You are
exactly. You're not born hating. It doesn't come like depression or bipolar disorder. So I didn't mean to be distracted, but that one distracted me.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it goes back to what I was saying about when I was living in a white town. I absorbed some of those messages myself against Blacks. And I don't have any mental illness, but I was conditioned to believe that these people were a certain way.
Okay, this is going to sound crazy. I'm like going back to, I guess, what would that be? High school psychology class. Did you guys remember learning about Pavlov's dog?
Yeah.
So they would, with ringing the bell and the dog would begin to condition a particular way. It's the same thing. If you see something again and again and again and again and slightly different and then slightly different, but again and again and again, it's going to seep in. It's just going to. We are sponges. It's the beauty of humans. It's also the detriment of humans, because what you soak into yourself, it does. It actually seeps in and it stays.
Which is why it's so important to make sure your eyes are seeing a very diverse group of people. It's why you need to make sure that what you're reading is diverse and vast, because if whatever you are, you have to just make sure that your eyes are seeing the right things. I mean, even watching commercials, like my boyfriend will even mute commercials because he doesn't want that messaging to seep into his brain. He's vegan, he's trying to stay vegan. So he's like, I can't listen to the commercials. If you don't make sure that what you're taking in is good for you, you don't know what's going to come out.
Oh, it's such, we're all the gatekeepers. We all have a responsibility to be the gatekeepers of our minds, our eyes, our ear, everything. We've gotten very lax with that because everything kind of goes, you know, and we assume that it's not going to affect us. Every single thing, who you follow on social media, I'm just going to say this, that seeps in. If you're following all petty basic bitches, you're going to become a petty basic bitch.
Yes.
It's simple. It's
very
just
simple.
My dad used to say something, which was, birds of a feather flock together.
Yes.
It's true. It just winds up that way. If you want to change your life, the first thing you should do probably is look to change your friend group.
Listen, when I changed my friend group, my life changed. My life changed. To be honest with you, people, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm going to say it anyways. Going forward, I can no longer have, if I'm going to make a new female friend, if she happens to be white, we better be able to have conversations like this.
Absolutely. You almost need a speed dating version of like race conversation just to see if you can go into friends.
If you say yes, we're going to keep talking. If you say no, I'm going to go to the next person.
Right? Sorry, I don't have time to waste. No, it's true. I mean, it's life and death. It's not for a white woman. Let's be honest. The stakes are very different for you and I. Mm-hmm. So if they're not willing, there's a level of arrogance in them that you shouldn't actually move forward with.
Arrogance is a level of arrogance. I don't know why I didn't think about it that way before. It is a level of arrogance, right? You're just like, don't need to.
I don't need to. Well, why is it necessary?
Right.
Why do we have, it's so uncomfortable.
Right.
Well, fuck yeah, it's uncomfortable to get shot. It's uncomfortable to be discriminated against. It's way more uncomfortable to walk around in America in a different skin color than white. Trust me. They go through way more discomfort than we do sitting and having an honest conversation. Now, I'm going to be honest. Should you have an honest conversation with every single person? Okay. Now, like I said, it goes back to the spirit of learning and the spirit of teaching.
Right.
Right? If you're trying to make me a punching bag, now that I'm not going to sign up for that.
Right.
But I'm definitely willing to take what's mine. And I'm aware of I know I'm white. I know that I have privilege. I don't try to hide my race. Right. I don't try to hide my marriage to a black man. I'm raising black kids.
Yep.
I don't feel like I have to apologize for any of that. I can be exactly who I am. Mario always says, you know, babe, you're colored strong. Now, does he mean he doesn't see my color? No, we're not stupid. I see his color. He sees my color. But at the end of the day, the souls of people who are strong connect. They draw to each other like magnets.
1,000%. And to be honest, I think people in your position, when you are in an interracial marriage, interracial relationship, you should definitely be doing this work. There are times where I have dated white men and I'm just like, oh my God.
Well, you're insulting your children.
Right.
To your spouse if you're not doing the work and your interracial relationship. I don't necessarily know how those would go. I don't know how the person who's the minority in the relationship would actually want to stay. And I'm sure I'm going to be offending people right now, but I'm going to be honest. How do they feel safe around you if they don't know when the fucking gun blows, if you have their back for real, for real? I don't know that. Mm-hmm. But everyone has their own thing. But your kids, at the very least, at the very, 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 very least, you are raising, even if they're very light skinned, even if they barely look like they have another race in them, you're raising black children. In America, it's playground rules. They're black.
That's it. If you're 1/8 black, you're black.
You're black. Then that's America. That's the nastiness of America.
Right.
Again, so if you don't like it, help change America. Exactly.
And it's interesting because when I would date white men and when I was having to constantly just educate, which I got very tired to do. Sorry if you're a white guy and like watching this. But I realized, I said, I can't have a baby with this man. Mm-hmm. How are we going to raise our children? How are you going to, you're not, I mean, you're trying to understand, but you don't understand it at all. Like if I had the white version of Jay, maybe that would have been a little different. But I didn't. You know, I was constantly having to be like, do you understand why this is wrong? Do you understand why what this was problematic? And again, I have cousins that are in interracial relationships, but it's because they can have these conversations with their partners, and their partners listen, and they understand that, you know what, something could go down with my girlfriend. I have a friend, he's white, he loves Black women, and he said he's seen it with his own eyes. They've been pulled over before, and he felt as though, I feel like they just pulled us over because my Black girlfriend was driving. And it opened his mind up so much. And, you know, he was able to talk back to the cop, but help protect her. But it's because he understood and he educated himself, and he realized that's what he needed to do.
You're right. It wasn't her job at that point.
It wasn't her job.
And the same thing now. It's not the job of those two men in Starbucks to defend themselves. That's not their job.
To me, it was everybody else's. I mean,
it was absolutely everyone else's job, and they failed them. Minus the two of you, they failed them. They had an opportunity. Mm-hmm. They failed it.
Anything. I mean, can you imagine if you get into a car accident and your car turns on fire and everyone just drives by? I mean, you want people to help you. And I wish that there was just a stronger sense of community going on right now. But I think it's happening. I feel like these lives that keep happening during this pandemic is because people are trying to stay connected to one another. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to maintain that community. They're trying to maintain that connection. And I think we're all looking for something a little bit deeper right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful and happy that we connected, because every time I have one of these conversations, you know, I'm 33. I just started having these conversations really deeply when I was like 30 with my friends, because I just started getting really fed up with my white friends. With my Black friends, obviously, it was all the time. But every time I have these conversations with a white person, it heals me a little bit. I feel a little bit more hopeful in the world, hopeful for our country. Absolutely. Because I know that there are people, I'm like, people like you, people like other people, you are going to do the work. You're going to talk to the uncle. You're going to talk to the friend, no matter who it is. You're going to do the educating. You're going to watch something or read something. And I know that every time you guys do that, it's impacting and influencing the white people in your world. And that is so important, because you said this earlier. Melissa says it all the time. Racism is not a Black problem. It's a white problem.
Absolutely. It's the same way that sexism isn't a female problem. It's a male problem. And just like men don't get to decide what's sexist, white people don't get to decide what's racist. Okay.
Thank you for saying that.
They don't. That's not how it works.
That's not how it works. There's so many times where I've been like, yeah, that felt pretty racist. Well, they didn't really mean it. It was racist. Are you
sure they meant it like that? It didn't sound like that to me. Well, who are you to say? If a man grabs my private parts, but then a man tells me, oh, he didn't mean it like.
It's exactly the same thing.
It's identical. So we have a lot of feminists that need to jump over and actually join the entire movement.
Correct. There's so much conversation I see going on about that, about intersectionality amongst these feminist movements. And it's fascinating that that's having to, actually, maybe it's not that fascinating, maybe it's kind of obvious, that it has to be called out to say, are you also recognizing the struggles within the groups within your movement? Right. And there for one another in that way to help each other heal. Like, we need to, unfortunately, because of this pandemic, we were actually going to have our first Show Up Summit in California at 1440 Multiversity Resort in Cali. It's like, so beautiful, but it's now pushed back until spring. But it's going to be a multicultural coalition of people having these healing conversations for us to get to know one another and have, D-Ray, Susan Bro, which is Heather Heyer's mother. Heather Heyer was the white girl killed in the Charlottesville riots. Cheryl Strayed, Point Made Learning. I forget if you're watching. I really hope I'm forgetting some names, but we want it to be multiracial people, because these conversations are what need to happen. The conversation has to start. If you have a Black friend and you're white watching this, have the conversation with your friend. I guarantee you it will deepen your connection. If you're a Black person watching this, start having the conversation with your white friends and find out who's there for you. Find out who's in your corner. Find out who you can trust. I told Jay earlier that I lost my best friend of 26 years. 26 years. We've known each other. We were like best friends for maybe the past like 5-6 years. And as soon as I became an activist and she realized how serious this was for me, this wasn't just in the beginning. It was all like the media. Oh, this is fun. This isn't fun for me. Right. This isn't fun. It's necessary.
Exactly.
I got depressed for a few weeks, and I actually almost stopped doing this because I was taking in so much information and so much knowledge about what was going on in this country that I was overwhelmed. And I sought out a Black therapist. Her name is Dr. Gail Parker. She is a yoga instructor, a psychotherapist. She's incredible, who uses yoga to heal race-based trauma. Oh. And she told me, she said, Michelle, that shift you felt in your body, that was trauma setting in. You need to be careful. You need to make sure that you're resting, that you're not taking too much in at one time. So I started doing yoga again. This is work that we have.
It's hard work. It's hard work.
So that's why if we're going to have white friends in our lives, it's so important that we know that they're there for us, because...
Yeah, let me clarify. It's hard work for African Americans. It's not hard work for white people.
You're right.
It's not hard work to stand up to, cook out Karen. It's not. It's actually for me hard to keep my mouth shut. So it's simple. I've lost, as I mentioned to you, I won't go into depth with it, but I've lost family members. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest. If I cannot be my authentic self, which also means surrounding myself with people who believe in a like way. I'm not saying politically we have to believe the exact same way, but with basic human things, you better think fucking exactly like I do, or I don't need you in my life. Mama, dada, auntie, cousin, best friend, I don't care. I don't care. I don't need, in this world, if you have friends and relatives like that, you don't need enemies. Why? Purge your circle.
Yes.
Period.
Self-preservation.
Would you want that person around your kid? We need to have more empathy. The problem is, I saw a meme going around, how would you say that? I don't know. I still can't get it. I'm 38. Okay, I'm 38. It said, vote like your brother's gay, yes. Your, sisters this, your husband's a different race. It's basically like, put yourself in the shoes of people. Okay, stop voting only for your small issues. It's way more macro than that. Like, you're part of a big ass world. Right. You're not part of this tiny little part that you only have to worry about. No, because things will find their way to your doorstep. That's called karma.
I had to explain that to people. What you said about you need to make sure that the people around you, like from a moral standpoint, from a human standpoint, have the similar vision as you. I said, if you only vote for your interests, I said, one friend, or actually a few friends, I said, we need to have a talk about maybe our values. And I had to ask them some tough questions. And I realized, I'm not sure if I really know this person. Because from a human standpoint, if it's not obvious to you that everyone deserves the same opportunities and everyone should be treated equally and there should be equity in this world, I literally can't fuck with you. I don't understand how that is not just innate in you to want to see other people prosper and
well, let's be honest. When the rubber would meet the road, the person would put themselves above you anyway, because they're lacking empathy.
Right.
That sounds harsh as fuck, but I truly believe that. People who are lacking empathy is more harsh than me saying that those people would throw you in. It's just true. I'm 38. I've lived enough. I've been thrown under the bus enough to see that if you're lacking empathy for these three groups, you're going to lack empathy for me eventually. Let's just find the issue.
Exactly. Let's just find the issue. I had some friends, again, not to get political, but in the beginning when I found out they were Trump supporters, I was like, ooh, I said, oh boy. I said, we have to have a serious, deep talk about, do you understand that this means certain things for me? And if you do realize that, we were never that close of friends. It was, like you said, performance allyship. It was, I'm friends with Michelle because she's Black, so I'm covered. You're not covered. You're not covered. And, I would remove myself. But then that makes room and space in your life for the people that are going to fuel you, for the right friendships, for the right connections. And when I did that, what you said about making sure who your friends are, I mean, like I said earlier, it literally changed my life. The trajectory of my life and my career and my success just skyrocketed. People said,
not everybody can go where you're going. And if you're more married to the people that are around you than you are to where you're supposed to go, you're never really going to go much. You're not going to go far.
Right? So people always say, like, what can I do? What can I do? And I said, listen, I'm not saying that you're going to get an organization to shut down and do bias training, but I promise you that if you really want to make a difference in your community, you can do that by it's just your voice.
Absolutely.
Your voice, all Melissa did was just tweet a video.
Right.
And now she's an activist. Her kids are like, Mom, it's like you're living a double life because you're this middle-aged white woman. They have no clue how badass you are. No clue. She is just incredible. So what you said about it not being a Black issue, white issue, she says that in every single speech that we do. And we have her say it. We want that message to come from the white woman so that they can see it, they can absorb it. They say, okay, she looks like me. This must be true.
No, we have to do that sometimes. We still have those biases you talked about. So we might happen to think and be more prone to listen to someone who looks a little more similar to us. Until those biases, we have to erase the biases. They don't get erased. So until we do the work, the hard work to erase those biases, then yeah, we have to use everybody. It's all hands on deck at this point.
All hands on deck. If we want to see, just picture how you want to see the world. Mm-hmm. And then every day start living as if that world is how it is right now. And you will make a change. Your circle will change. You're going to start finding opportunities to help where maybe you didn't see it before, because you're seeing the world in a different way. And I always see people say, oh, why is everything about race? Talk about race, talk about race. I will stop talking about racism when
racism stops.
It's as simple as that. And it doesn't even matter for me what color you are. If I see you and you're struggling, I'm going to help you. It's very simple to me. I remember one time taking a homeless man into Wawa, and people were looking at me like I was weird for taking a man into Wawa that, he obviously looked homeless. I remember even a police officer looking at me like funny. Like, what's she doing? Like, what's her angle? This man is hungry. It's been raining. It's chilly. It took me, it was what, $5? How hard is that to just lend your hand to people you see are suffering? I just want to see more of that. And I'm so happy that now I'm finally surrounding myself with people that want to do the same thing, and we can make change together. I honestly feel like this live is so, I've been kind of searching the comments a little bit. It's so powerful for a lot of people to see this dynamic and how people who are two different races can have a conversation. It doesn't have to be that difficult.
It doesn't at all. The starting point for everyone is put your fist down. Put your defenses down. No one's attacking you. There are some true things that happened in our history that you can't change. No amount of ignoring it or denying it changes it. So that's fair. No one is saying you did it, white person, you and your dad. No one's saying that. So put your fist down. Listen. Just listen. Ask questions. And then listen again. This is not your experience. Stop acting like it is.
You've dropped some gems. I hope we can remember them all.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I'm saying there should be more you said some things, I probably forget them.
Really? I've been trying to not look at the comments at all, because I didn't realize I might have ADD. I might. I've had to really focus.
Oh my gosh. I could literally talk to you. I could talk to you forever. I'm so thankful.
Wow.
Like I said, every time I have this conversation, every time I think, I'm like, where were they? Where were these people in high school? Where were you in college? But it doesn't matter. Here I am now. I'm finding these conversations. I'm finding these connections. I'm finding these women that are just on the same path as me. The more of us that connect, the better we will vibrate throughout the rest of the world. It will inspire people. It will motivate people. I'm going to ask all of your followers to follow us at From P to P and repost our content. If you know that your network is likely pretty segregated, repost.
That's an easy way, guys. It's not even a direct way. You don't even have to see the person when you're posting. So that's a great place to start too.
It's a great place to start.
Let them read it and then start unfriending people.
Start unfriending people, right? Start unfriending people. Read White Fragility. Watch 13 on Netflix by Ava DuVernay. Listen to the Seeing White podcast. Seen on Radio, Seeing White. It's by a white man and a black man that explore the way.
What was the name? Say it again.
It's called Seen on Radio, Seeing White. It's a podcast. Okay. It is so incredible. It literally explains how race was even created in the world. It started in Portugal. It's crazy. And it narrates in very chronological order the way that the United States specifically constructed race for power and wealth. It is fascinating. It's by a white man and a black man, and the white man throughout it is reflecting on what it means to be a white man in this country. It is just so powerful.
Yeah, I haven't watched or listened to that. I will. I'm going to say something and you can tell me, because you have listened to it, if this does not apply. But white people, when you listen to something as raw and as real as what this podcast sounds like, you're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel pain. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel all of these things. And it's not that it's not a direct reflection of you, but it's true. And it's honest. It's what happened. There's no way to get past the awkwardness of race conversations until you let yourself sit in that. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are so right. Literally every one of our speaking engagements, we say, listen, you're going to feel shame and guilt, but we're trying to take the shame and guilt out of this conversation. Because it's going to happen, but it's not a useful emotion.
Yeah, let it be a 5-second emotion. Feel it, acknowledge it, but then also let it go.
Then let it go.
The shame you should feel is when you do nothing. That's the only shame I want people to actually have. That's a quality shame.
That's a gem right there that you should remember, because I literally already just forgot it. What did you just say?
Damn it! I need to record myself. I'm kidding. I said that we should let it be a 5-second emotion.
Yes. Oh no, you said the only shame that you should feel is if you
doing nothing.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on.
Yes, this was so exhilarating. I feel like, and now it's like late and I feel energized. So
thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it
so much. Stay in touch and keep showing up. Keep doing you.
Absolutely.
We're watching you. You're doing amazing. You're going to keep ruffling feathers, but that's just because you're speaking so much damn truth. And
bring it on.
It is what it is.
Bring it on. Thank you.
Right, lady. Have a wonderful evening.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.